Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Mindful Marathon Conversations. I'm Coach Michelle Quirk. I'm a pediatrician and a run coach, and the founder of Mindful Marathon, where I help make running easy and fun for busy professionals. And today I have with me a very special guest. I have with me my friend Elle Raker, and she's going to introduce herself, but she is a self-proclaimed not runner. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So welcome to the show, Elle, and thank you for being here.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm happy to be here. So, yes, I am a pediatrician by trade and a parent coach. And I have two kids, 14 and 11, so relatively busy. Um, and I connected with you, Michelle, because so much of your story resonates with my story in terms of running and also being a pediatrician. But I was the kid in school that could not run a mile. Like that was torture. And literally, I don't even know if I tried, but regardless of how I started, I know I ended it by walking and walking very slow. And I was always the last one. Like I was the person that got participation points, and that was it. And looking back, I'm like, I don't know why that was so hard. It was only a mile, but that was who I was. And running to me was never fun. It was always, even if I did it when I was a little bit older, it was a means to an end. Like it's a good workout, but I hated it. And so I met my husband who had, I think I've already run a few marathons before we had met. He ran a few more after we met and got married. And I was always a person cheering him on, as I was like, I'll be your cheerleader. I'll be in the sidelines holding the sign, but never even thought about running or training with him. And then I kind of got this idea of really pushing myself and decided I wanted to do a half marathon. The idea of a full marathon is not totally out of the question at this point, but I needed to start somewhere, obviously. And I think at that point, the most I had run was 4 miles once. I think the most I'd done consistently was 3 miles, like a 5K ish. And I'd done a few 5Ks. So going from 3 to 12 was, a big enough jump for me and a stretch for sure.
Mhm.
But it was one of those things that it's like if I could do this, I could do anything. And um, I'm capable of hard things. So it was more like I had to prove to myself. And I'd already started this journey of stepping out of my comfort zone professionally. I started a blog. I started doing these things that were definitely not in my wheelhouse if you knew me, 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Mhm.
So I'd already pushed myself somewhat in that emotional professional arena, and this was like my physical way of pushing myself,
Mhm.
and just prove myself I can do it.
What what made you decide really to like sign up for the half marathon? Like, were you thinking about all these things like I'll push myself and it's something I've been thinking about and want to do, or was it something a little different?
No, I think that was really it. I think it was just like, I'd always been the observer at my husband's marathons, which was
Yeah.
fun. It was fun to be there and cheering him on. But there's definitely something different about being in the race, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I remember being at a race in Seattle with him, and these two people finished the race who I noticed were just overweight. Not negative or positive. I just thought, like, wow, like that could not have been easy, and they committed to doing it. So I think that's what started me going. It was seeing these different people that were different shapes, sizes, ages, abilities. I'm like,
Mhm.
they can do it. I can do it. And that was a few years ago before I started training for my race, but I think that maybe planted some seeds of what's my holdup, like what's holding me back, and um, having kids, I think I always want to put out the message of you can do anything you want and you shouldn't be held back by any limiting beliefs. So I think a lot of it was those limiting beliefs of me being younger, not a runner. I
Yeah.
hated running, all those things. And I just decided if all these people can do it, I can do it too. Like, I don't really have an excuse.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know that your story resonates with me, and that's how it was for me as a kid growing up, like struggling through the mile and just thinking that everybody
Totally.
something was different about the people who could do it, and they were just made of different genetics than I was, and I was never going to be a runner. And I wonder how, well, tell me about your training for the half marathon and maybe take us to the start line and how your feelings were when you got there.
Yeah. So I started really, really slow. And for me, I need to be prepared. So, like my husband, who, like I said, had run a bunch of marathons, he kind of just showed up. Like, he started training with me, but he went on a trip in the middle and missed like one of our long runs that we're supposed to do together. He skipped it. So he was not prepared, but he just did it. For me, mentally, I need to be prepared. So even if physically I could have done that run without doing every single training run, I knew that I had to do it exactly as I was told in my plan, or else I would not feel good. So he actually printed out like this, I think it was like from couch to half kind of training. So it was long. And I just went really slow. Somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the beginning of the training, I start to have some back pain issue. And I do have that. That is something I've had for a long time. That is another story. So I kind of slowed it down, took a little break, but decided to restart it and just go with it. So, just being mindful of the pain, but my situation, I had done some workup. I knew there wasn't anything majorly wrong,
Yeah.
and just decided to, kind of push through it a little bit. But that was a little bit of a hiccup. Other than that, I just kind of follow the training program. Um, to your point, to your credit, I guess, of being a coach, my husband was my coach. I do not think I could have done it without him by my side. And I said I did one long training run without him, which was really hard, but also good only because I realized that I could do it. So it
Yeah.
was nice to have that confidence, but I would have never planned to do it without him. He just came back from his trip and he's like, there was no way I'm ready. And it was an overseas trip. Like, there's no way I can do this,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, and I had to do it because I had to do it. So I made it work, but it was nice to have that little like boost. What I distinctly remember, and I kind of relate a lot of my training to goal setting in
Mhm.
life in general. And one of the things was how hard it was in the beginning.
Yeah.
Every single run, the first, maybe even mile, I don't know, at least half a mile, I was like, I'm never going to make it on this run. And then you just get into a rhythm and something takes over and you're just like, okay, you just do it. But it always got easier.
Mhm.
So, I always thought about like if you have a big goal, it's always harder in the beginning, right? Until you get into rhythm.
Yeah.
My other big thing was, especially with the big runs, was cutting it in half.
Mhm.
Because once I got to the halfway point, so if I was doing 8, 9, 10 miles, once I got to 4 miles, it was just as long, to go back as it was to stop. You know what I mean? Like, I had to get back.
Yeah.
So the halfway point was always like my goal. I never really thought about 10 miles. I thought about 5 miles.
Mhm.
Um, because then I knew I was at the point of no return at 5 miles and I just had to get home.
Yeah.
So that, I think, helped. And again, like with goal setting, I think, breaking it up into smaller bits.
Mhm.
And then the last thing was just one foot in front of the other. Um, Sometimes I walked, I did not run the whole thing, and it was just one foot in front of the other and keep going.
Yeah,
So
one foot in front of the other is mantra in a way
yeah, yeah. So
that I've used. Yeah.
those are definitely my mantras. That's kind of what kept me going. And um, and the other thing I did, which had a surprising return of investment, was
Mhm.
that I documented this on Facebook. I documented my training. After I did my training runs, I came back and did lives and talked about it, and kind of like an encouragement. It was kind of like, if I can do this, you can do this, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And on the day of the race, I had so many people cheering me on. And it was kind of like my whole Facebook family was my accountability.
Mhm.
So I knew I knew I was doing it for accountability, but I didn't expect as much of the support that I got on the day up. So that was really nice. Um, and then at the start of the race, it's like this mix of nerves and excitement and, being my first race, uncertainty and um, just a lot of unknowns, I think.
Yeah.
But maybe kind of a good thing to have some unknowns. I don't know, you just kind of go with it, right? Like you can't overthink it too much.
Yeah.
Um, my husband told me after the fact, he's like, I started a conversation with the people in front of us to try to distract you. So he like purposely tried to talk to people around us, and he's the eternal cheerleader. So he was just like, keeping it upbeat and light, and this is gonna be easy, all that kind of stuff. So
He was returning
you
the
know,
favor from all of those marathons you cheered him on for, you know.
yeah, totally. So we started and we did it in Vegas. So it was really fun. It was
Fun.
at night, a lot of stuff going on. So that was great. And then we actually decided to get married. So at the
Oh, wow.
Vegas
Okay.
Marathon, can do an official wedding. I mean, it's a
That's awesome.
Vegas wedding, so however official that is. So
Yeah.
you stop, I think about it 3 miles, and you get married. So I did have like a break during
That-
mine. We
That's
got married.
amazing. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. It was really fun. And actually the person related a lot of the vows to running, and it was really good. I was like, wow, these vows are excellent. Like
That
after
is
being
so
married for so
cool.
many years, I was like, these are really, like, I hope the people about to get married are really listening to this, because this is really good to know. And people were wearing different outfits, and my husband had surprised me with a little tuxedo shirt, and I had like a little white running skirt on, and a little bride bandana thing.
That's
So
so
it was
fun.
cute. Some people
Okay.
got like really dressed up. I mean, like wedding dresses. I mean, it's Vegas.
Yeah.
We didn't do that. We just were wearing our normal clothes, a little bit dolled up. And it was super cute. It was super fun. That definitely made it like an extra addition of something to look forward to.
Yeah.
So after that, we had whatever 10-ish more miles to go. And at one point, I was like totally in the groove and listening to my music. I think it was Lizzo. That was like definitely my jam during this training and run. And my husband was like literally holding me back because he knew my pace was too fast to keep going.
Mhm.
And he said at one point, I turned around and looked at him with this like look of death, like, leave me alone. Like, I want to run this race. And he's like, I can't, you're not gonna make it. And he was right. By mile 11, I was like, I want to kill myself. Um, but he did. He tried to temper me. So that was something. He's like, you just, it being your first race, again, having a coach, I think is so important, or someone, like a pacer or something like that, because I had no idea and I would have definitely gassed out. And I think the people around him are like, why wouldn't you let her run? Because he's like, it's her first race. They're like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's so easy. I mean, no matter whether it's your first race or not, like it's very easy to go out too fast because you get so swept up in the atmosphere and everybody just sort of
Totally.
takes off at the start line. But it's much, if you only have a 5K distance or a 10K distance, you have a little more wiggle room there with going out fast. But if it's a longer race and you totally, get gassed in the first couple of miles, it's going to be a long way home.
For sure. For sure. But yeah,
But
I
that's all
mean the
part of the
energy was
experience.
great. Yeah. And there was people singing and musicians along the side and people cheering, and it was on the strip. So it was just kind of a fun thing to see. Um and then so other than getting gassed at the end, but then you're like, okay, it's a mile. Like I
Yeah,
can make
you're
it. It's
good.
a
You're
mile.
good. Yes.
So and then it was just this like just elated. Like I don't I mean, obviously you're very happy, but it felt so light, so liberating, right? Like this like this big sigh is the best
Yeah.
way I can explain it. And you get your little cute medal and everyone's just cheering as you leave and you see the different runners, and it's just this like high. Like I just felt like nothing could hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm invincible. So yeah, it was totally fun. And being in Vegas was really fun. But I didn't think about it at the time when I booked the trip was my kids weren't there. It was just me and my husband. And I didn't really think about having people like cheering me like I had my husband there. But he was running with me, so it was great. But I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I guess it would have been kind of cool to have done a race with my kids to see me. But I literally didn't even think about it. I was just thinking about a fun place to run a race because
Yeah.
I didn't know if I would ever do it again. Um,
Plenty more races left to run.
I know. So the next one might be maybe with my kids. We were
There
talking
you
about
go.
doing that, me and my husband. So yeah, it was an amazing experience. The training, I think, like I said, I learned so much, not just about running, but about life.
Mhm.
Um, and obviously the physical part of it, and more than anything, just knowing you can do this thing
Yeah.
that, you know, is so hard. And people said to me things like, wow, you must really love running, or, why are you running so much? Or, I'm like, I actually don't like running at all. I'm doing it because it's hard. Um, because I can do hard things.
Mhm.
That's why I'm doing it, you know? 'Cause yeah, I got a few comments like that. Like, you must, if you really love it, then it's great, or you must love it. I'm like, actually, no. I mean, there's aspects of it I love, right? Like
Yeah.
afterwards, you feel great, and during some of the long runs, you just kind of zone out. You listen to music. Like, there's definitely aspects of it, but it wasn't that I was in love with running. That
Yeah.
wasn't that wasn't who I was.
Do you even when you finished the race, did you think of yourself as a runner at that point, or it's not really?
You know, it's funny. It's just I don't know if I'd ever call myself a runner. Um, but I guess that's just my own definition of it. Technically anyone's a runner and anyone can run a race or do any of that.
Mhm.
I just don't think it's something like inside of me that brings me the ultimate joy,
Mhm.
right? So for me to call myself a runner, still feel like it's a little bit of a stretch.
Mhm.
Um, but again, for me, it was more about doing something hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what about the marathon? You said it's not off the table.
Yeah, I like I said, I never had the desire to run a marathon. I mean, I think running for 4 hours straight just sounds grueling. But um yeah, you get kind of like this bug, right? Like, and again, it's I want to know I can do it. I want to prove I can do it. I want to show that I can do it. So um maybe, maybe I
Okay.
haven't decided. I think COVID obviously put a wrench in a lot of those things.
Yeah.
For a while, I couldn't even, we weren't able to run outside without masks, and that
Yeah.
kind of ruined it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see this, post COVID opportunities.
The destination race is always kind of fun, which is what you did.
For sure. For sure.
But
Yeah.
then
I
you
was like,
can,
we got to pick something fun.
Yeah.
to all, all the rewards of running. So
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I would say maybe if it was a little bit easier, like if you could get to a place where it wasn't as hard, maybe the marathon wouldn't seem so crazy to run for 4 hours. Like if the effort wasn't so grueling, as you say, like
yeah,
you don't have to necessarily take it at like a very hard race pace, but
totally,
slow
totally.
and slower and easier.
Yep. I think I agree. I think taking it slower, I did this whole walk run thing. Like I
Mhm,
wasn't
mhm.
trying, like I said, I wasn't trying to get a certain time or a certain record. As it got closer to the end, I think I was excited to finish under a certain time. I don't even remember what it was now. Um, but because of the wedding, it was like I couldn't really, I didn't know my exact time, but I think I got to my one of my better times, as far as my training runs. So I was happy about that. But it wasn't about the time.
Yeah,
It was never about that for me. So, a running coach and a running partner can really make a difference,
yeah,
especially
definitely
in a
good
first
for
race.
support, motivation, accountability, helping you slow down.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing what you sign up for next.
I know, I know. I will keep you posted.
Well, tell everybody where they can find you on social media and all of that.
Yeah, so I am Dr. Elham Raker, and my social media is Ask Dr. Mom. So on Instagram, it's at Ask Dr. Mom _. And my website is askdoctor/mom.com. And like I said, do parenting and pediatric telemedicine. So if anyone has any question about their babies that they need answered online, happy to help, or just message me too.
All right, thank you. Thanks everybody for listening. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. If you liked it, please subscribe and share it with a friend. And if you are a newer runner or a runner who hasn't run in a while and you're looking to get back into the sport, you can find out how to work with me over on my website, which is mindful-marathon.com. See you on the next episode.